The door opened with a smooth click. Benjamin Carter stepped into his house with the confidence of a man who believed the world revolved around him. His suit was tailored, his shoes polished. His face carried that familiar self-assured smile he wore every birthday, the smile of a man who expected applause. Trailing behind him were 5 family members: his mother, father, younger sister, an aunt, and uncle, each chatting, laughing, carrying gift bags and dessert trays, eager to celebrate their golden son. But their smiles died the moment they crossed the threshold. The house was silent, too silent. No savory aroma, no sizzle from the oven, no Evelyn humming softly in the kitchen, just the hush of something wrong. And on the marble table in the center of the room, resting beneath the golden afternoon light, sat 3 objects: a white envelope, a pair of house keys, and Evelyn's wedding ring, centered, deliberate, gleaming. Everyone stopped walking. Benjamin's sister froze mid-step, her heels clicking to a halt on the hardwood. His father blinked slowly, brow furrowed. His aunt dropped the gift bag she was holding, the sound of wrapped chocolates spilling echoing like marbles on the floor. Benjamin's mother stepped forward first, her face stiff with confusion. "Where is Evelyn?" she asked. "And if you were holding your breath too? Like, comment, share. Tell us where you're watching from, city, country, wherever you are. Because this story, it's just getting started." Benjamin opened his mouth, but said nothing. His sister, already trembling, picked up the envelope and tore it open. She read it aloud, slowly at first, then faster as the words began to land like blows. "Benjamin, you told me this was your house. So today, I've left you with it. No food, no performance, no more pretending. I will not serve someone who humiliates me and calls it love. You will explain my absence. I no longer have to. Happy birthday, Evelyn." A strangled gasp escaped his mother's throat. She clutched her chest and stared at her son like she didn't recognize him. His father's jaw tensed. His aunt shook her head, muttering, "No, no, no." Benjamin still hadn't moved, still hadn't spoken. His hand hovered in midair as though reaching for something that was no longer there. Because Evelyn wasn't there. She was gone, and not in the messy, dramatic way he might have expected. This wasn't rage. It was precision, control, a surgical goodbye. 3 months earlier, the night Evelyn Carter stopped being his wife, truly stopped, in the deepest, most intimate way, was so ordinary that it almost went unnoticed. Benjamin had invited a few work friends over, last minute. Again, he texted her from the car. "Can you throw something together? The guys want to celebrate my bonus." No please. No ask. Just assumption. Evelyn was in the kitchen when they arrived. She wore a soft blue wrap dress. Her curls were pinned up. She had set out wine glasses, arranged a cheese board, and even ironed the linen napkins she once thought made dinners feel more like love than labor. They all sat in the living room. 5 men, loud and laughing, asking Evelyn to top off their drinks while she floated between rooms like a hostess ghost. Then someone asked about her design studio. One of the men, Davis, maybe, had glanced around and said, "So, Evelyn, when's the launch party? This place looks like it came out of a catalog." She smiled, not shyly, but with pride. "I'm hoping next year," she said. "Just working on finalizing the branding and building my portfolio." Benjamin snorted, loud, the kind of laugh that wasn't playful. "Oh, come on," he said. "You've been saying that for years now." The room shifted. Tension crackled like ice in a glass. Evelyn turned toward him, confused. "I'm being patient. I want to build it right." Benjamin cut her off, his voice too loud, too sharp. "Be grateful I keep a roof over your head." Silence. No one moved. No one laughed. Evelyn didn't flinch, not on the outside. But inside, Something shattered. A delicate thing. A private thing. Benjamin chuckled awkwardly. I'm kidding. Jesus, don't look at me like that. But she didn't look at him. She turned, quietly walked back to the kitchen, and continued cleaning up. That night, after the guests left, he went to bed like nothing happened. Evelyn didn't. She stayed awake on the living room couch, staring at the window, the one she insisted on installing because it let in the softest afternoon light. She had painted the trim herself, chosen the cream curtains, hung the frame of her favorite print above it. Choose joy, even if they don't. And in that moment, Evelyn Carter made a silent promise to herself. This house would not be her prison. This marriage would not be her grave. And Benjamin, he would never see her coming. The morning after Benjamin humiliated her, Evelyn got up before him. She stood in front of the kitchen window, the one she had chosen for its morning light, and watched the sun creep over the hedges, turning the counter gold. She didn't cry, didn't rage, didn't even feel hollow. She felt cold, sharp, ready. It was a Tuesday when the universe gave her the confirmation she didn't know she was waiting for. Benjamin's tablet was on the kitchen island, carelessly left open. He was in the shower, humming to himself like a man unbothered. Evelyn passed it while making coffee, meaning only to slide it aside. But then she saw her name, or rather, a nickname, not one Benjamin had ever used. One someone else had written. Your little ghost wife still doesn't suspect anything? Evelyn paused, scrolled, and there it was. Natasha. A string of texts, flirtatious at first, then cruel. Do you think she even notices when you're gone? She's like a polite robot. Honestly, I feel bad for her. This house is cute though. Our little hideout. Soon she'll be out of the picture, and we can do this right. Photos followed. Of Evelyn's home. Her throw pillows. Her wine glasses. Her sofa, with Natasha on it, wrapped in one of Evelyn's blankets. And Benjamin's replies? It's almost done. She's comfortable, not suspicious. When the bonus clears, I'll make the move. Promise. Evelyn stood perfectly still. The kettle whistled behind her. She didn't turn it off. She simply closed the tablet, placed it exactly where he had left it, and walked upstairs to set out his towel like she always did. That night at dinner, she smiled. She passed the potatoes, nodded at his story about work, asked about his meetings. He didn't notice the new quiet behind her eyes. Because men like Benjamin, they only notice thunder. They never see the storm forming in silence. Over the next few weeks, Evelyn became a strategist. She began with job boards, in incognito tabs, updated her resume at night while Benjamin snored in bed, drafted fresh bios, brushed up her portfolio, created sample campaigns for dream clients that didn't exist yet. She learned what time his car left the driveway every morning, how long his gym visits actually lasted, which nights he came home late but didn't lie about it. Then she got hired. A remote role with a boutique digital agency, brand strategy, her sweet spot. She said nothing, told no one. Her paychecks went straight into a brand new bank account in her name only. Her laptop? Hidden in the back of her closet under a box marked old decor. She worked from the guest room, claiming she was organizing files for her design dream. Benjamin never asked questions, not real ones. Why would he? Evelyn had mastered the art of appearing small enough to overlook. But she didn't stop there. Every purchase Benjamin made, she tracked. At first, it was subtle. Expensive dinners billed to their shared card. A luxury scarf from a boutique she'd never stepped foot in. Hotel charges on weekends when he claimed he was out networking. Then came the final insult. Jewelry. Not for Evelyn. He bought Natasha a bracelet. With their money. She printed every receipt. Filed them in a folder labeled Benjamin's Upgrades. Each charge. Each date. Each time he chose another woman over the one who built his image from the ground up. And still, Evelyn said nothing. She smiled. kissed his cheek, made him his protein shakes. She let him believe he was getting away with it, because soon he would walk straight into the ruin he built with his own hands. One Friday, just before sunset, Evelyn took a train to the coast. She got off at a stop she'd never used before. The air smelled like salt and eucalyptus. A short walk led her to a modern glass building perched above the ocean. The apartment was light-filled, quiet, clean, the kind of place you go when you're ready to exhale. A woman named Claudia gave her a tour. At the end, Claudia handed her the lease application and smiled gently. "You leaving something behind?" she asked. Evelyn looked out at the water, let the question hang for a moment. Then she turned and said softly, "No, I'm running toward myself." Evelyn didn't pack. She disappeared, piece by piece. On Monday, it was a pair of running shoes and 3 books from the shelf in the guest room. Tuesday, her grandmother's quilt and a box of old sketch pads. Wednesday, half her wardrobe, folded, pressed, and transported in a nondescript black suitcase. By Friday, the closet still looked full. The kitchen drawers were untouched. Her shoes still lined the rack by the front door. But Evelyn was no longer there. She had moved everything that mattered into her new apartment by the sea. The one with the glass balcony. The one with the light that kissed her cheek when she sipped coffee in the mornings. The one no one knew about but her. She carried her laptop in a tote bag marked "Client Samples." Her design tools, carefully wrapped. Even her favorite mug, a ceramic one that read, "Soft doesn't mean weak." Each trip was quiet, controlled, strategic. Benjamin never noticed. Because Benjamin was too busy becoming a man, he couldn't wait to show off. He came home that Monday in a new blazer, slim fit, pale gray, no tag in sight. "You like it?" he asked, spinning once. "Got it from that boutique downtown. Natasha says it brings out my eyes." Evelyn looked up from her tea and nodded. "It suits you." On Wednesday, he announced a promotion. Senior partner. Bigger team. More travel. Evelyn smiled. "Congratulations." Thursday, he came home late again. Smelled like too much cologne and a woman's perfume that Evelyn hadn't worn in years. He didn't kiss her, didn't even look at her. But when she placed his dinner in front of him, he muttered, "You're a good woman." And Evelyn, she didn't say a word. That Friday morning, she sat in a quiet cafe by the water, working on a brand refresh for a new skincare line. Her laptop hummed softly. Her fingers moved fast. "Is that Figma?" a voice said from the next table. She looked up. A man in his late 30s, maybe early 40s, leaned toward her with a kind smile and a coffee mug in both hands. "It is," she replied cautiously. "You know it." "Not as well as I'd like," he said. "I do some UX work, nothing fancy. Mostly small brands, small teams." They talked for an hour. About clean typography, the psychology of white space, why some designers hated templates and others swore by them. His name was Mike. He didn't flirt. He didn't ask if she was married. He didn't interrupt when she spoke. And Evelyn noticed. She noticed the way he listened, not just with his ears, but with his face. She noticed how he asked follow-up questions, how his voice softened when she talked about her long-abandoned dreams. It wasn't romance. Not yet. It was possibility, and it lit something in her chest that had been dark for a very long time. That night, Benjamin came home with a bottle of wine and a command. "We're hosting everyone here for my birthday next week." Evelyn blinked. "Everyone." He leaned against the fridge, popped the cork, and poured himself a glass like he was the king of his own empire. "My family. Mom, Dad, Aunt Lou, Uncle Thomas, Laura, all of them. Should be around 15. No, 16. 18, tops." She raised an eyebrow. He didn't notice. "Natasha says I should do something classy this year. Big roast, flowers, music, the whole thing." Evelyn tilted her head. "Natasha says?" Benjamin paused just long enough to lie. I mean someone from work. She was joking. She nodded, taking the lie with a sip of water. You'll cook, right? He asked. There was no warmth in the question. No trace of care. It wasn't an ask. It was an expectation. Make yourself useful, he added. Evelyn smiled. Of course. The next day, Evelyn went back to the apartment. She stocked the fridge with vegetables and almond milk, set her books on the windowsill, arranged her childhood photos on the console, hung 3 art prints by the door. One of them said, "You do not owe your survival to anyone's comfort." She placed her grandmother's quilt at the foot of her bed. She tested the water pressure. She opened the windows and let the sea air in. And when she was done, she stood in the center of the room and whispered, "This is mine." That evening, while Benjamin talked on the phone in the backyard, probably to Natasha, laughing about birthday logistics, Evelyn stood at the stove making a simple pasta dish. She heard him say the words, "The little wife's doing her part, don't worry. She lives to host. This is her moment." He thought she couldn't hear him, or maybe he didn't care anymore if she could. But Evelyn just kept stirring. He walked in 15 minutes later, kissed the top of her head like punctuation, and said, "Thanks for making this easy." She handed him his plate. "Anything for you, sweetheart." In the final days leading up to the party, Evelyn removed the last traces of herself from the house. Not the decor, she left that. Not the dishes, she cleaned them. But her. She took her planner, her chargers, her favorite cardigan, the scarf her mother gave her after graduation, the framed photo from their honeymoon, the one she always pretended was happy. She left the floors polished, the surfaces dusted. She left the spice rack alphabetized, the pantry full, the fridge organized. She even bought the white roses he liked to display when company came over. And on the morning before the birthday, as Benjamin paced the kitchen on a call with his sister, complaining that Evelyn still hadn't finalized the menu, Evelyn stood in the doorway. She watched him, really watched him, the lines around his mouth, the smugness in his tone, the way he still thought he owned her. He turned and caught her staring. "What?" She smiled. "Nothing. Just thinking about tomorrow." That night, Evelyn couldn't sleep. She lay beside him, staring at the ceiling, counting every second that passed. Benjamin breathed heavily, dreaming of centerpieces and praise. Evelyn, awake and still, felt not fear, but calm. Not sadness, but certainty. She reached over, placed her fingers lightly on the wedding ring she still wore, and slowly, deliberately, slid it off. She set it on the nightstand. Then she turned away from him and whispered, "Tomorrow, I choose myself, and I won't look back." Benjamin Carter woke to silence. Not the lazy weekend kind. The kind that felt off. Evelyn was always up first. On birthdays, she usually brought coffee to the bedside. Or at the very least, he'd hear movement from the kitchen, cabinet doors, running water, the low hum of a playlist she'd curated just for the day. But this morning, nothing. He rubbed his eyes and glanced at the clock. Nearly 10. A grin spread across his face. She must be pulling out all the stops. He patted down the hall barefoot, tightening his robe, expecting to smell garlic or cinnamon or roast in the air. Instead, the house was cold. No dishes, no coffee, no sound, just stillness. Then he stepped into the living room and froze. On the marble table in the center of the room sat 3 items. A small envelope, a pair of house keys, and Evelyn's wedding ring. Nothing else. The white roses she'd placed there days ago were still in full bloom. They stood at attention, the only sign of life in a space now emptied of its soul. Benjamin stared. No note next to the coffee pot. No phone call. No texts. He walked into the kitchen. The fridge was full, still packed with fresh ingredients. But the oven was cold. He opened the pantry. Every shelf neat. Labeled. Tidy. He walked to the closet. Her favorite coat was gone. He opened her drawer. Empty. One by one, the rooms revealed her absence. Her shoes, her jewelry tray, her notebooks, even the sketch she'd taped inside the laundry room as a joke. This house runs on love and second chances. Gone. All of it. She had left no chaos. No mess. Only the truth. The doorbell rang. Benjamin's stomach dropped. He hadn't even changed clothes. A second ring. Then knocking. Voices. He opened the door and forced a grin. Hey. Come in, come in. His mother stepped in first, followed by his father, his sister Laura, his Aunt June, and his Uncle Marcus. They were mid-conversation when they saw the living room, and fell silent. Laura was the first to react, a sharp inhale that pulled her hand to her chest. Marcus muttered, "What the hell?" June's eyes darted to the table, then back to Benjamin. His father furrowed his brow. His mother's voice dropped to a whisper. "Where's Evelyn?" Benjamin swallowed. He walked to the table, picked up the envelope slowly, hands trembling just slightly. He recognized her handwriting instantly. Clean. Precise. He opened the flap, unfolded the letter, began to read, but Laura snatched it from him. "If you're not going to say anything, I will." She read aloud. "Benjamin, I refuse to be humiliated in the home I built. I hosted your friends. I forgave your absence. I swallowed your insults. But I will not serve my soul on a platter and call it love. As of today, I choose myself. You can enjoy your birthday with your truth. The keys are yours. The silence, too. Evelyn." No one spoke. His mother was the first to break. "Is this true?" she hissed, stepping toward him. "What did you do?" Benjamin stammered. "She's being dramatic. She's gone." Laura snapped. "That's not drama. That's strategy." Marcus crossed his arms. "Is this about that coworker I saw you with last month?" June added coldly. "She left you with your shame and your furniture. That's biblical." Benjamin tried to speak, but every sentence fell flat. They didn't want excuses. They wanted answers, and Evelyn had taken them with her. Later that day, the silence turned digital. His phone buzzed. Then again, and again. At first, it was Natasha. "Is this your idea of funny? I heard your wife left you in front of your whole family. God, you're a mess. I don't date broke, unstable men. Lose my number." Blocked. Gone. Then came the calls from work. Benjamin ignored the first. Answered the second. "Yes, I'm home. I'm dealing with a personal matter." But the voice on the other end wasn't warm. "Benjamin, finance flagged multiple non-work-related expenses tied to the corporate card." His heart pounded. "We'll need you to come in Monday. Bring your card and your badge." He barely made it through the call. By Tuesday, he was asked not to return to his office. Security would gather his belongings. An internal audit had been launched. The hotel receipts, the dinners, the bracelet, it all pointed to one thing: personal enrichment on company funds. And now, he faced investigation. Not just embarrassment, not just divorce. Real consequences. Legal ones. Benjamin stood in his kitchen that night, looking at the empty counter. No Evelyn. No dinner. No music. Just the white roses, still in bloom, mocking him. That night, he sat alone in the living room. He poured himself a drink. The lights were dim. The decorations still hung limply on the walls. The banner that read "Happy Birthday" fluttered slightly as the vent kicked on. He stared at the table. Ring. Keys. Letter. He had wanted a celebration. He got a reckoning. Evelyn woke to the sound of waves. Not crashing. Not violent. Just steady, like breath. The kind of sound that didn't demand her attention, but invited her to be present. Sunlight poured into her bedroom through sheer curtains that fluttered gently in the breeze. The walls were warm beige, the floors smooth oak. Her toes sank into the rug she picked out herself. She stretched. No voices, No barking orders. No guilt hanging over her like steam from a pot roast. Just morning. Just her. She walked barefoot through the quiet apartment, her apartment, and slid open the balcony door. The air smelled like salt and citrus. The sea stretched wide before her. Below, the boardwalk stirred with early joggers and dog walkers. But up here, she was untouchable. She wrapped herself in a robe, took her coffee, and stepped outside. Mike was in the kitchen, barefoot, wearing a worn gray t-shirt, whisking eggs in a stainless steel bowl. "Morning," he said, smiling as he glanced over his shoulder. Evelyn smiled back, cradling her mug in both hands. He didn't kiss her, didn't rush her. He let her take her time, like he always did. He plated breakfast on their balcony table. Soft scrambled eggs, toast with avocado, a bowl of berries drizzled with honey. She sat. They ate in silence. Not the empty silence she used to fear. The good kind. The kind that feels like peace. In the months that followed her escape, Evelyn rebuilt her life. Not from the ground up, but from the inside out. Her remote job flourished. She impressed clients, learned to set boundaries, rediscovered the creative voice she'd buried under years of compromise. By spring, she registered her LLC. By summer, she had her first official clients. By autumn, she opened the doors to her design studio, a bright, plant-filled space 3 blocks from the beach, with an open floor plan, soft lighting, and a vintage espresso machine that hissed like punctuation every morning. She named it Studio Solace. Clients came, mostly women at first, then small businesses, then big ones. She built a team. She took vacations. She danced barefoot in her living room. She read novels she'd forgotten she owned. She wore her curls loose and wild, the way she did in college, before Benjamin had suggested she look more polished. She laughed with her whole chest, slept with the windows open, took photos just for fun. She lived, and it showed. It was almost a year later when she saw him again. She was leaving a client meeting when Benjamin approached her outside the cafe. He looked smaller. His suit didn't fit as well. His eyes didn't hold the same confidence. There was a nervous energy in the way he fidgeted with his phone, waiting for her to recognize him. "Evelyn," he said, like a question. She stopped, tipped her head slightly. "Benjamin. I've been trying to reach you. You changed your number." She nodded. "Yes, I did. I heard about your studio." "Studio? Solace, right? That's right. You're doing well," he said, almost surprised. She looked him up and down, took a slow breath. "Yes, I am." There was a beat of silence. "I made mistakes," he said. "Big ones. I was stupid. I didn't see what I had. And I know I don't deserve a second chance. But if you ever—" He trailed off. She didn't rush to fill the silence. He tried again. "Could we talk? Just one coffee." Evelyn smiled. Not cruelly, not coldly, but finally, honestly. "No," she said gently. "That chapter is closed." Benjamin's face crumbled, just a flicker. She stepped around him, walking down the sidewalk with ease, and didn't look back. That evening, Evelyn returned home as the sky dipped into gold. Mike was already in the kitchen, lighting candles. He had made pasta. Again, it was his favorite comfort meal to cook, always from scratch, with garlic and basil and a little too much olive oil. She changed into her softest cotton dress, washed the day from her skin, tied her hair up loosely. Then she joined him on the balcony. The waves below were turning silver. The streetlights flickered on in the distance. They sat in quiet. He poured wine. She leaned into the chair, warm from the setting sun. And when he handed her a plate, she took it with both hands, smiling. She looked out at the water, exhaled, and said, "The best revenge is living well." If this story moved you, if Evelyn's silence said what your heart couldn't, like, comment, share. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories of quiet power, sharp exits, and the kind of women they never see coming.